Good afternoon. My name is Mark Goodman. I represent SCORE Chicago. You're watching live interactive call-in TV here on CAN TV21. My guest today is my annual visit with Stephanie Neely. Stephanie is the city treasurer of Chicago. I think we've done this about 5 or 6 times.
I think so. I've been treasurer for almost 8 years, so at least 6 times.
Well,
Hi, everybody.
I've been doing this show since 2009.
Okay, so there you have it.
You know, we've been doing this for a while, but I think that every time we have this discussion, things are different.
That's true. That's true.
And what we started doing a couple of years ago was sponsoring the Elevator Pitch Plus contest.
Right.
So we're going to talk a little bit about elevator pitches. We're going to talk a little bit about what the city treasurer is doing. We'll talk about the Small Business Expo.
Sounds good.
Which is important that you need to know about. I'm going to put up a couple of quick slides here. This is SCORE Chicago. And we're going to talk about the Small Business Expo, among other things. But we'll get started here with Stephanie. So, Stephanie, we're doing elevator pitches.
Right.
So I'm going to ask you the same thing I ask every other guest that I'm doing this season, which is give us your elevator pitch.
And how many seconds do I get?
You have as much time as you think you need.
My elevator pitch would be, hi, I'm Stephanie Neely, and I have the honor of serving the great city of Chicago as its treasurer. My goal is to be the best treasurer the city of Chicago has ever had. I'm entrusted with a portfolio of about $6 to $8 billion. My job is to keep it safe, provide liquidity, and to grow it. Since being elected almost 8 years ago, I've earned about $1 billion in returns for the citizens of Chicago.
So you've earned $1 billion of returns for the city of Chicago.
And that's extraordinary because, as we all know, interest rates have been at historically low levels. So I'm very proud of my staff. We also just received our 6th straight clean audit. No other treasurer has gotten 1 clean audit, and we've gotten 6 in a row. And so I'm very proud of what my office has done.
So who audits the city treasurer of Chicago?
Deloitte is our auditor.
Okay.
And my office is audited separately because we are actually not only the city's chief investment officer, we're also the city's banker and accountant. So if monies come in, they come to me and they go out, and we have to audit hundreds of accounts to make sure that no money is missing. And so we're very proud that our processes are in place that are good and on the cutting edge of most municipalities in this country.
Okay, so I think that's interesting to know that even the city treasurer has somebody independent who comes in and makes sure that, you know, your debits equal your credits.
That's right. That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. So this is a call-in show, and you can call 312-738-1060. John here is on the phone. If you do have a question for the city treasurer, John will talk to you a little bit and make sure your question is relevant. And if so, we'll put you on the air. Do we have a call, John?
That was quick.
All right, go ahead, caller.
Hello, I just want to know how magnets work. Hello.
Aha. Well, you know, our first unusual call of the season.
It's summertime. People are having a good time.
Well, or one could argue that, you know, it's the rain that's doing it. So you've been treasurer for 7 years.
That's correct.
How has the office changed over this period of time?
You know, I think we have changed the investment policy. If I can get technical for a second, we've gone back to City Council to modify the investment policy probably about 5 times. We've done changes like how long we can invest, the different types of securities we can invest in. And so that's one change that we've made, obviously our 6 clean audits. But, you know, on the community outreach side, I have a passion for financial literacy. We've impacted close to 250,000 Chicago public school students with a financial literacy curriculum. And I'm very passionate about helping small businesses. I'm sure your listeners have heard me say that I'm a product of a small business owner. My parents had, you know, neighborhood gas stations, so I want to do everything I can to help our small business owners. And so we've just done a lot of different things between the elevator pitch contest and our microloan program, and you know, we've grown the expo to really, you know, service that need of our community.
Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about the expo because I think it's something that everybody, not only in Chicago but in entire Chicagoland, can attend. Let's briefly talk about business plan competitions and 1-hour mentoring, and how have that changed over the last couple of years?
Well, 1-hour mentoring is relatively new. We've had some great entrepreneurs in Chicago who are successful, who are willing to sit down with aspiring entrepreneurs and basically tell them why they've succeeded. We don't want our entrepreneurs to feel they have to recreate the wheel, And so learning from other people's mistakes is just an easy way to get going. And so that's something relatively new, and we do it several times a year, including at the expo, and it's free. In terms of the the business plan writing competition, that was in existence for a while, but we just keep fine-tuning it, trying to get more money, trying to get more sponsors. You can't build a house without blueprint. You can't have a business without a blueprint, and a blueprint for a business is a business plan. And we want people to start and continue to have it evolve, so when you go to a bank for a loan, you can say, here's my business plan. And I think it's very important, and we're just trying to teach people.
And I think it's important for people who are running businesses or people who are starting businesses to realize that I think more than ever, there are just a lot of resources out there, and you need to get involved with it. I mean, the city treasurer has a mailing list. You should get on the city treasurer mailing list. They have the website and check these things out.
And like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and look at us on Instagram. We're very active in social media. And what's great about the City of Chicago and our commitment to small business owners is this is all free. We're trying to provide free services. We're trying to give our constituents what they really need. That was the evolution of the microloan program. I went into the community and said, how can we be more helpful? The city treasurer's office had a pot of money from when the Skyway was privatized, and we revamped that program to be a microloan program.
So let's talk about the loan program. Sure. People are saying that a little bit of money would help them grow their business. So tell me a little bit about the small business development loans you have, and how do people get them?
Well, one, we have 7 different partners, including Axion, and you can go to the website, chicago-citytreasurer.com, to get a list of our partners. It's a revolving loan program. The loan sizes are anywhere between $2,000 and $50,000, and I believe our average loan size is between $12,000 and $13,000. The last time I actually looked at our audit, we were all current, and there's some people who think that's a bad thing, that we're not taking enough risk. I think it's a good thing, because I'm putting city assets at risk, and I want to make sure that I'm being a good fiduciary of those assets. But it's all part of meeting a need, and some small business owners need working capital. They don't need really big loans. They just need a little money to pay their utility bill, and the large banks just are not in that marketplace. So we designed this microloan program to meet that need.
Well, I think the other place that a business owner should look at taking a microloan is potentially if you've made a purchase on a credit card.
Yes.
And you're paying that off. Now, I wouldn't particularly maybe get a microloan for cash flow, but if you had some kind of small capital item
yes.
that you purchased and you're carrying it on your credit card, getting a microloan to cover that
right.
would be really a good idea.
We've seen both. I mean, sometimes, when things were really bad, some people just needed a short-term loan to meet a utility bill. That's a good use. And then when your cash flow improves, you can pay it off. We don't want people putting their bills on credit cards. We definitely don't want you to go to payday lenders. And so this is an alternative for business owners to actually have affordable capital. It's been said you can't have capitalism without capital, and so here's a source of capital.
So what's the range of interest rates in the microloan?
I think it ranges between, I think it's capped at 30%, but don't quote me on that because our partners have different, but part of that interest rate is used to service all the loans and to make sure if we have any default, they're covered. And so it's not all going to our partners, it's actually going back into the pool also.
So it's what happens here is that as loans are given and they're paid back, that money goes back into that pot of money, right. So you can redo those loans.
Right.
So what might be an example of a microloan success story that you can think of?
Well, I try not to advertise for our lenders, but I happen to have a sweet tooth, and Bliss Cupcakes is one of my favorite cupcake makers in the city, and her story is pretty amazing. She was a former investment banker, gave up her career, went to culinary school, wanted to go into baking, but that's a big capital need, and so she thought cupcakes would be an alternative. And this was before the big cupcake boom, and she was one of our borrowers from the microloan program, and it's paid off well. She opened up a second store, and she's doing quite well. And she's actually paying benefits to her employees, so it's a great success story.
So if you're looking for a loan to tide you over through a slow season for a little bit of capital, there are a set of micro lenders who essentially administer?
They do all the credit analysis. We
Okay.
provide, my office provides the actual capital or money, and then we have 7 partners who actually do the credit analysis, who you need to develop a relationship with. If anyone turns you down for a loan, be it a micro loan or another type of loan, you need to get feedback and say, why am I being turned down? No doesn't mean no forever, and take that feedback to get them to yes. And so working with our micro lenders is a great way of doing that.
And a little bit of a combination here is that one of the best things if you're looking to get a loan is to have a business plan.
Have to have a business plan. You have to have a business plan. I know some people have a hard time getting their ideas down on paper. We actually have a template on my website, ChicagoCityTreasurer.com, that will assist you in taking a first draft, but that needs to be refined, and talking to micro lenders and coming to the expo and showing your business plans to others to help refine that to make it the best business plan you can. And we also offer classes throughout the year, including at the expo, that will teach you how to write a business plan, but it is imperative.
And just a little bit of a commercial for SCORE is that if you're starting a business or you have your business and you're going for a loan, it would make sense to make an appointment and talk to somebody at SCORE, because SCORE mentors can also help you through your business plan and help you actually, write it down.
That's right.
So if you do have a question for us, you can give us a call, 321-738-1060. We're going to talk a little bit about the expo, which is our favorite event of the year. Now, just so you understand, I'm going to flip through a slide here and come back. So we're running our Elevator Pitch Plus contest. Here are our 7 finalists for our Elevator Pitch contest. Now, of these 7 finalists, 3 of them are going to make it to the final step, and they will be invited to come to the Small Business Expo.
Right, and there'll be a drum roll, and we'll announce who the winners are and give them their big check.
Well, the other thing is that each one of these 3 finalists will have an opportunity to pitch their business in front of a workshop that we give, and they'll get, actual feedback relative to their elevator pitch and their business here at the expo. And the reason I'm spending some time talking about this is this just gives you a sense of the energy and the passion that's at the expo.
Right. The genesis of the elevator pitch came from one of my colleagues, and he came up with an idea. If you just happen to be on the elevator with Bill Gates, how would you pitch your business to him? And you only have, 15, 20 seconds. And frankly, we live in a society of sound bites, and so you have to get your ideas across quickly. And so that was the reason we decided to do an elevator pitch, because we want people to understand, to get their ideas out, to say, this is my business and why you should invest in me. And it's been a lot of fun, frankly. It started off that way, but it's actually been very relevant and a lot of fun.
So, what we're going to give you the slide just to remind you relative to the Small Business Expo. So we have the Small Business Expo. The Small Business Expo is at the UIC Forum. The forum is at Halstead and Roosevelt Road in Chicago on October 3rd, and it runs from 8:30 to 3:30.
And Mark, you know what you forgot to say, right?
I know. Well, I'll let you say it.
How much does it cost?
It's
free. It is free to everyone. We'd like people to register beforehand so we can get a sense of how many people will be coming. But if you don't register beforehand by going to the website, ChicagoCityTreasurer.com, you can register on site.
And I think what's fun about the Small Business Expo is it's one of the events that is really open to anybody in Chicagoland. So while we certainly get people who are Chicago residents, we get people from all over the Chicago area.
And we also get people at varying stages of small business or entrepreneurship. We get some people who still work for corporate America and they just have an idea and they're thinking about it, all the way to people who actually have, bricks and mortar and they're just trying to expand. So don't think your idea is too small or too big to come. It's a great resource, and again, it's free.
Well, I think from a resource point of view, not only do you have workshops and you have speakers, but you have exhibitors.
We do. We have about 150 different exhibitors. We probably have 30, 35 free workshops. Last year we actually recorded some of our workshops and we live streamed them. We put others on our website, and so if you can't make it, you can see some of our workshops. But the exhibition hall is full of energy. It's a lot of fun. It's actually a little loud, and you get to meet and network and talk to people and bounce ideas and figure out how you're going to navigate City Hall. Talk about insurance. Talk about meeting some of the banks. So it's a great way of one-stop shopping.
Okay, so we're going to remind you once again, it's the Chicago City Treasurer Small Business Expo at the UIC Forum on October 3rd from 8:30 to 3:30. And you can register at the Chicago City Treasurer /registration. And I think it is important to register, one, because it'll give us a sense of how many people who are going to be there. But two, I'll tell you, the first couple of hours
are a little hectic.
And if you do register in advance, it's going to get you in and get you going a lot faster than if you don't. So that's October 3rd at the UIC Forum.
We also provide a free lunch because we know people get hungry, and so we have free lunch. We have sort of a continental breakfast in the morning, so it's a way you can spend the whole day there and you get a lot of information and fed as well.
Okay. So learn about yourself, learn about some options for you. The workshops are virtually packed, every one of them.
They are.
So once again, we do encourage you to check out the Small Business Expo. We've got a few more things to talk about here, Stephanie. We've got about 5 or 6 or 7 minutes left. So let's talk a little bit about small business in Chicago.
Sure.
Okay. So you've been the city treasurer for 8 years.
Almost 8.
Almost 8 years. How has the small business environment changed in Chicago over this period of time?
You know, I think with the Great Recession of 2008, it was a huge downturn of our economy, and frankly, some of us haven't recovered to levels of pre-2008. But if there is a silver lining of the Great Recession, is people started to stay closer to home and utilize their small businesses in their neighborhood. So the days of getting in your car and driving far out to some big box and buying some television that was made in China, those days seem to be somewhat behind us. And utilizing, you know, the great craft stores in your neighborhood or the clothing stores, that seems to be the norm now. I live not far from Hyde Park, and it's great to see the energy in Hyde Park with great new shops. And so it seems to me that even though Chicago has always been a city of small businesses, about 90 to 95% of all of our business licenses go to companies that employ less than 100 people. And when you actually dig down, it's more like 10 people or less. I think people are really starting to utilize their small businesses in their neighborhoods for a variety of services, not just nail shops or cleaners, but actually there's shopping and a lot of different things. So I think that's the silver lining. I think Chicago is really growing in that sense.
I think the other thing that we've seen, just I observe as I walk over here from the train station through, you know, Greektown and over here to the studio, is that you're starting to see the investment in the neighborhoods of Chicago by some of the bigger companies.
Yes. You know, some of the large big boxes are actually coming into the neighborhood. They're redefining their model in terms of a more neighborhood-friendly model, and you know, it's just creating commerce, and it's and you know, the energy level and the optimism is increasing as well.
So I think that if you're looking at being a small business, this is a good time to put your plan together and work on what makes sense for you, because I think what the big box and what the investment on the bigger companies does is that in some ways discourages people from getting in the car, encourages people to go for a walk.
That's right. And once you go for a walk, you can go into a lot of different shops and you'd be amazed at what's actually out there.
Okay, so when you look over the next year, what are the challenges that you think we need to confront and overcome here in Chicago?
I'm not sure if you're talking about small business or not, so I'm going to take the small business approach.
Well, let's go down the small business
I mean, I always
fine.
think that we need affordable capital. You know, I want to make sure that I'm teaching people about the choices that they can make with their money. And I think that actually does translate into entrepreneurship, because the days of, you know, going to a bank and getting 100% loan are gone. And people need to have a home budget so they can save for whatever their dream business is. If you don't believe in your own business by having a pot of money, how am I, the lender, going to believe in that? And so it's important to manage your personal finances, and that will translate into your small business idea as well. And so I think that's a challenge. It's an ongoing challenge. We're not teaching choices in school anymore, you know, life lessons of how to manage a budget. And so I want to make sure I'm doing that, and I want to make sure that translates into a long term of a healthy, vibrant small business community in Chicago.
So as far as building this healthy, vibrant small business community in Chicago, what do you think that, you know, we can do from the perspective of mentors and collaborators. I mean, you've done a great job helping drive collaboration.
Yes.
You know, but we get the sense that people aren't taking as advantage of it as powerfully as they can.
Well, I think that's sort of a statement that we can make about Chicago in general, that we as a community need to rise up and help each other, from the violence in Chicago to schools to mentoring small businesses. And I encourage people to help each other. And there's no reason to recreate the wheel. You should feel comfortable going into a restaurant saying, can I just sit down with your manager and talk to you about some things? And that person should say, sure. And, I think that needs to be the spirit that's out there. And, talking to our young people about their future and being entrepreneurs. I think just sort of coming together as a community is going to be important for Chicago.
So I think Stephanie is raising a good point here. One of the things that we talk to people about when it comes to creating a business plan is understanding the structure of the business, and the idea that if you have an idea for a business, one of the best things to do is to sit down with somebody in your neighborhood who may have the same business. It's always surprising to me how, even though somebody's in the same business that you might want to get into, would, quote, be your competition. Many times, most of the time, if you've got a question, if you're interested in the business, they're more than happy to talk to you because they love and they're passionate about what they do.
Sure. We had a 1-hour mentoring a few years ago at the expo, and a woman was very hesitant, but she stood up and she said, I have a question. It may be a dumb question, but how do I stop my employees from stealing from me? And everyone on the panel was like, great question. I'm sure everybody in this audience has that same problem. And it really did put the panel on a different trajectory of talking about, sort of things that you don't really think about. Technology that exists now, and learning from each other is important. Saves money and it saves time.
So I put together a list of questions here, and I've been doing this interview for several years with Stephanie, and I've really actually watched you, become I think a more powerful, person as far as being the city treasurer and as far as contributing. And I think your office with all the people just do a wonderful job. We've chosen to collaborate with them. But when you look at your 8 years here, you've accomplished some great things. But looking to the future, what's next for Stephanie Neely?
So Mark's asking that because obviously election season is coming up in a little while, and I'm not making any announcements on your show, even though I appreciate the opportunity, and I greatly appreciate those very kind words. I think public service is humbling. It's an honor, and I have served to the best of my ability, and I feel honored to have served the city that I love. And I'm not sure what's next. I'm not sure who's going to run against me, if I'm going to run, so time will tell.
It's always fascinating. I have watched this for many years and been involved in a number of campaigns, and there's always the balance between what you've accomplished, what you can accomplish in the job you have, and what you can accomplish in other jobs. So it'll be fascinating to see, where you go.
Well, I appreciate that.
Because you're one of my favorite people.
Oh, very kind.
All right, we're going to do a little bit of score bookkeeping here. Okay. We have our show that we've been running here every Thursday. We'll be back to our guests. We have our finalists, so we have 3 more finalists in our elevator pitch contest: Peter Field, House Financial, and Utopia. We just want to remind you, relative to SCORE, that we have free counseling and mentoring. We have an online appointment system. We do workshops and training. We have a small management consulting team. We're on social media also at SCORE Chicago on Twitter, SCORE Chicago Video on YouTube, and our website is scorechicago.org. If you have an interest in mentoring, you can check out SCORE, email us at scorechicago.org, or give us a call at 312-353-7724. I want to thank Stephanie for being my guest. I wanted to wish Stephanie the best of luck wherever your journeys may take you.
Thank you very much.
And we'll see you guys next Thursday with our next Elevator Pitch Plus contestant.